welcome back everybody. I wanted to do one more example involving a shifted hyperbola. So in this one, we're going to be finding the equations of the asymptotes of the hyperbola whose equation is given here. And then along the way also, maybe we can also find the foci and perhaps produce a graph. But the first thing we're going to need to do is to complete the square on x and y here to figure out where the center of the hyperbola is. So I'm going to take the equation that we've got for the hyperbola and rewrite it so that the x stuff is together and the y stuff is together. So there's two terms involving y, so that will be y squared plus 4y. And then we'll have minus, leave a little space, minus 4x squared plus 24x. And then I'm going to push that negative 41 to the other side as a positive 41. Okay, so then a couple of steps here. The y part, I'm ready to complete the square in y. So half of, taking a look at the coefficient of y here, half of 4 is 2, 2 squared is 4. We're going to add in a 4, and we'll add it in on both sides. Okay, so then I'm not quite ready to complete the square in x's yet. I want to factor out that negative 4 first. So we're going to do that in the next step. And then additionally, I'll go ahead and factor the y part. So here we have y plus 2 squared minus 4. And then that will be x squared minus 6x. Again, leave a little hole. On the right side, we have 45. Okay, and now once again, inside the parentheses, we're ready to complete the square. So taking a look at the coefficient of x. That's a 6. Half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9. So very carefully, we're going to draw in a 9 there. So you want to be real careful. I'm not going to add 9 on both sides. Why? Because that red 9 that I drew right here, if we stop right now and I distributed, we'd have minus 4x squared plus 24x minus 36. Drawing in this red 9 actually decreased the left side by 36. So we're going to subtract 36 from both sides. That is a tricky step. It takes a little getting used to. Make sure you understand why it is the way that it is, and I didn't just go plus 9 on the right side. And let me know if you have any questions on that, because like I said, that takes a little getting used to. Okay, so now that 45 minus 36 is going to give us a 9. So I'm going to go through here and divide all the terms by 9, because I know that I want to end up with a right side equaling a 9, equaling a 1, excuse me. So let me divide through by 9 right now. Okay, and so then what's left, we'll have y plus 2 squared over 9 minus 4x minus 3 squared over 9. And then I'm going to leave a little spot. 45 minus 36 is 9. 9 divided by 9 is 1. Okay, so this is almost there, but you'll notice that on the x term, there's a coefficient of 4 right next to the parentheses, and we don't like to see that when we're working with the equation of a hyperbola. We expect to see just a left parenthesis there. So I need to get rid of that 4. And the way that we'll do that is we're just going to divide the numerator and denominator by 4, or multiply by 1/4, which is the same thing. So that will serve to make it so that that coefficient of the x minus 3 binomial squared is a 1. So we're going to multiply, let's just do it in the front actually. We're going to multiply by 1/4 in the numerator and 1/4 in the denominator. Multiplying the numerator and denominator of a fraction by the same number doesn't change the value of the expression. So that's just going to make it so that it is easier for us to process. So we'll have minus x minus 3 squared over 9/4. Okay, that's our denominator for the y. So that's how it looks where we've rewritten the whole equation. Okay, so let me identify that. So we just did completing the square a couple times to make it so that the equation is in that kind of standard form that we are more used to. All right, so now what we wanted to do, what our original goal for this problem was to find the asymptotes. So from here, in order to know the asymptotes, we're going to need to know the center. So let's pick that next. So taking a look at the equation, it's x minus 3 squared, so there had to have been a right shift by 3. So our x coordinate of the center will be 3. Our y coordinate will be -2. So there's our center. And then we're going to need to get next the slopes of the asymptotes. So let's do that next. So for that, it will be plus or minus. And then remember, for slope, it's the change in y over the change in x. Taking a look at the terms for y, we have a 9 in the denominator on y. Square root of 9 is 3. Okay, taking a look at the x term, the denominator for x's is 9/4. The square root of 9/4 is 3/2. So that'll be the denominator. 3 divided by 3/2 is going to be 2. So the asymptote slopes will be plus and minus 2. They have to pass through the center, which was 3, -2. So we just need to find the equation of a line, or two lines, that pass through 3, -2 and have slopes of 2 and -2. So let's do the slope -2 first. So y equals mx plus b. Our y is -2. Our slope this time is -2. Our x is 3. We're using this to solve for b. So our b will be 4 for the first one. Okay, there's the first asymptote. Now we're going to repeat the same thing with a slope of 2. So we've gone through the steps there for a slope of 2. We have our equation y equals mx plus b. I substituted the slope of 2 and the point 3, -2 that we know that the line has to pass through. Going through the algebra, we found that the y-intercept was -8. So there's the equations of the two asymptotes. All right, so that was fun. That satisfies the requirements for the problem. It will be fun to go ahead and get the foci also. So let's go ahead and do that as well, because that can take some care also. So let's start working on a rough sketch of the graph of our function. So for this, let's get a grid that we can put on. All right, so I've got a grid put onto the notes now, and then I've also marked the center, which will be at 3, -2. So next I'm going to go ahead and draw in the asymptotes that we found. So one has a slope of -2 and a y-intercept of 4. So that will be a y-intercept of 4, and since it has a slope of 2, I'll go down 2 and write 1, and then we're going to go ahead and draw the line in. Okay, and that had better pass through the center, I found, right? Okay, and then the other one has a y-intercept of -8, and it has a slope of +2, so we'll go up 2 and then right 1, and then draw that line. And then additionally, that had better pass through the center that we found. Okay, so that looks good. So now what we need to do is figure out whether this hyperbola would be open upward or downward, or upward or side to side. So for that, let's take a look at the equation of the hyperbola without all of that shifting in there. So if we did that, we would have y squared over 9 minus x squared over 9 fourths equals 1. So this would be the one that is centered at the origin. And so let's think. If x were 0, so if x were 0, we wouldn't have that term. Our y's would be at plus or minus 3. Right? So our hyperbola would look like this. If the y's were 0, we'd have complex x's, and we are not going to have that. So there are no x-intercepts. There are only going to be y-intercepts. So from the center, the two vertices will be 3 units up and 3 units down. So let's go ahead and put those on. So from the center, which was at 3, -2, I'll go up 1, 2, 3 units. And then from there also we'll go 3 units down, 1, 2, 3 units down. And then we could just kind of draw that hyperbola going out towards its asymptotes. Okay, all right, I don't like that one as much. Let me fix it, kind of. All right, so there's our hyperbola. We've got the vertices. Those were at 3, 1. For one of them, let me draw that a little bigger. 3, 1 was one vertex. And then the other one is at 3, -5. Okay, so those are the other, the two vertices. And then for why not sake, let's go ahead and get the foci too. Okay, so those will have an x coordinate of 3, right? They always will lie along the transverse axis. So they're going to have an x coordinate of 3. And for the y coordinate, c squared is a squared plus b squared on a hyperbola. And so we'll have 9 plus 9 fourths. 9 plus 9 fourths. So that's 36 fourths plus 9 fourths. That's 45 fourths. So c is the square root of 45 over 2, which is 3√5/2. All right, so that is our c. As a decimal, if that makes it a little more, I don't know, maybe tangible for you, that's 3√5/2. That's about 3.35. Okay, as decimal. So that is our c. So it will be the center, which was at -2, plus or minus that amount. So this will be -2 plus or minus 3√5/2. Okay, so that will be our foci. All right, so that one was probably easily the most complicated hyperbola that we had. Go through and take a look at all the steps that we had to do that. We completed the square to find the center. Once we had the center, we went and found the asymptotes slopes. We did find the equation of two lines through a point with two different slopes. To get the two asymptotes, we drew those. We figured out where the non-relocated version of the hyperbola would be, so that we knew whether it was opening up or down or side to side. And then drew that on. We figured out where the vertices and foci are. All right, so that finally will do it for chapter 10 and all of the lectures for chapter 10. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a great day.